You've heard it all, right? High protein, low carb, keto, paleo, every diet seems to have a really strong opinion about protein. But there's one organ that always gets caught in the middle of the debate: your kidneys. So what's the actual truth here? Let's break down what the science really has to say.
So on one side, you've got the fitness world telling you to load up on protein to build muscle and lose weight. But on the other side, you hear this little voice of caution, right? Hey, be careful. Too much of that stuff is going to wreck your kidneys. It's this classic health paradox, and honestly, it's super confusing.
So, which is it? Is protein a friend or a foe when it comes to our kidneys? To cut through all that noise, we're not going to go with opinions or what some guru said. Nope, we're going straight to the highest quality scientific evidence we can find, and that is what this explainer is all about.
Yeah, we're not just looking at one single study. We're going straight to the top of the evidence pyramid. We're talking about a massive, what's called a systematic review and meta-analysis, which basically pools together all the best long-term research on this exact question.
And this is where things get really cool. A meta-analysis is kind of like the Supreme Court of scientific evidence. It doesn't just listen to one study. It gathers up all the verdicts from lots of different high-quality studies to see the big picture. This gives us a conclusion that's way more powerful and reliable.
And the scale we're talking about here, it's just wild. The researchers combined data from 10 huge studies that followed, get this, more than 218,000 people over many, many years. I mean, that is a true mountain of data.
And this slide right here shows you just how careful they were. Think about it. They started with nearly 2,000 articles. Then they meticulously filtered out anything that wasn't perfect. Animal studies, stuff that wasn't relevant, weak data, until they were left with only the 10 absolute strongest human studies. Now that is what scientific rigor looks like.
Okay, so after all that intense filtering, what did this massive analysis actually find? What's the final verdict on protein in our kidneys? The answers are coming up, and trust me, some of them are probably not what you're expecting.
So first, let's just talk about total protein. When the researchers lumped all protein sources together, plant, animal, everything, and asked, does eating more protein in general raise your risk of kidney disease? The answer was, nope, they found no significant link at all. That kind of suggests the story is a little more complicated than just how much.
And this, of course, leads to a much more interesting question. If it's not about the total amount of protein, what if it's about the type of protein? You know, where it's coming from. The researchers were all over this, and their next finding is where the real surprises start.
All right, get ready for the first major shocker. The analysis found that a higher intake of animal protein was associated with a 13% lower risk of chronic kidney disease. Wait, what? Yes, you heard that right, a lower risk. This completely flies in the face of that common idea that all animal protein is hard on your kidneys.
But it doesn't stop there. When they looked at plant protein, the protective effect was even bigger. People who ate more plant-based protein had a 19% lower risk of developing kidney disease. So while both types of protein seem to show a benefit in this huge analysis, plants clearly had the edge.
So, a lower risk from both animal and plant protein? This is a really big deal that pretty much turns a lot of old advice on its head. But why? Why is this happening? To get that, we have to dig into the details because that's where the real story is.
So what we're looking at here are these graphs that scientists call a dose-response relationship. It's a fancy term for a simple idea. It just answers the question, as we eat more of something, what happens to our risk? Does it go up? Does it go down? The trend line on the graph tells the whole story.
And for plant protein, wow, the picture could not be clearer. It's a significant straight-line trend going down. The more plant protein people ate every day, the lower their risk of kidney disease became. There's really no ambiguity there at all. It's a powerful protective link.
Okay, but what about that surprising result for animal protein? How can it be protective? Well, the key thing to realize is that animal protein is not just one thing. As the researchers themselves point out, the source matters a ton. While other studies have definitely linked things like red and processed meats to a higher risk of kidney issues, other sources like fish and seafood have been linked to a lower risk. So it's not the category, it's the specific food that really counts.
And why are plants so dang good for our kidneys? Well, the study suggests a few reasons. Plant-based diets can help improve things like your cholesterol levels, and they create less acid for your kidneys to have to deal with. Plus, Plants come packaged with all these other kidney-friendly nutrients, like magnesium and potassium. It's just a winning combination all around.
So after sifting through data on over 200,000 people, what's the big takeaway here? What does all this powerful evidence mean for the food that we actually put on our plates?
It really seems like this whole debate has been focused on the wrong question. This incredibly powerful evidence suggests that for most of us with healthy kidneys, instead of obsessing over how much protein we're getting, the far more important question for our long-term health is from where?